Hello, let's do a quick tutorial to get started with Retool's new chart component. So I fetched a list of employees from my company's directory. You can see we have 1,000 employees, and I have information on their country, department, what their gender is. And what I'd like to do is prepare a dashboard for my company, for my team, that lets them know what the distribution of employees is across different countries. So let's get started. So first, let's go over to the components menu on the right-hand side. Search for chart. Let's pull out this Plotly chart beta. This component is still in beta. We're still working on it. Center it so it'll look nice. Great. So the first thing we're going to do is select our data source. So we can use the same data source that's powering the table, which is a employees list query that's generated from a REST endpoint. Okay, great. So what you can see is we automatically populate the data. We have a few different chart types here we can pick from. So bar, line, scatter, pie chart. I'm most interested in a kind of distribution histogram, so I'm going to stick with bar chart. So next is the x-axis. So what I'd like to use is country. So I'm going to go ahead and select country. If I wanted to customize this at all, I could switch on use JavaScript and make a change. This is particularly useful when you're dealing with timestamps and you want to use a moment to change the value to the start of the month or the start of the week or the start of the year. Great, we have the x-axis type is default. By default, we try to figure out what the type of x-axis is. If you have a more custom field, you may want to select linear, log, date, category, or multi-category. Great, and so now we have, the next thing we do is we auto-populate data sets for every numerical column in your data. So we have ID, age, and salary. So I'm specifically interested in count right now, so I'm going to remove these different data sets. Great, and now so I have ID. So right now you can see we default to a sum of data. So when we're aggregating data or rolling up data in a chart, the first thing we do is sum it. But I don't really want a sum of IDs, I want to count. So I'm going to change this to count. I'm going to change the name to count. And you can see here the values, again, is similar to the x-axis. If you wanted to add in a different array of values, you could do that. Great, so I'm going to close that. Now, the next thing is I'm actually pretty interested in the breakdown of employees by gender as well. So I'm going to go to group by, and I'm going to select gender as a field to group by. Great, so now I can see that most of our employees are in France, the US, and Japan. And we also have a fair amount of employees in Canada where there are more women than men. Great, so one thing that I do still want to see the total counts though, so I'm going to stack this data right here. Great, and then I want to add a title, so I'm going to say employee count by country. Great, and then if I wanted to add any access labels, we could. I'm also going to move the legend down to the bottom. Wonderful. All right, great. If you can see mouse over, it gives you the count for each. Wonderful. And so one thing that's worth noting about this is this chart is actually powered by Plotly. So if you wanted to make a more advanced chart, you could click on the JSON and edit it directly, or copy and paste in JSON you've already built in other tools. See the next tutorial for an example of using the custom JSON to create two axes. Thank you.